All right, hello everybody. I'm very excited because this is our first official episode of There Are Four Hosts. We are a small collective of Trekkies excited about the new Star Trek Picard show. I am one of your hosts, Michael. I have been a Trekkie for as long as I can remember. I grew up watching TNG. That was my first introduction to Star Trek, so my captain is, of course, Captain Picard. I am very excited about the new show, to say the least. I look forward to talking about it once the show premieres. And with me are my other hosts.
Hey, I am Jay, or Just Average Jay, on Twitch and on all the social medias. I also am a TNG fan. I grew up on TNG, and Picard is my captain as well.
Hey everyone, I'm Sabrina. I'm a little younger than the two of you, it seems. I grew up on Voyager. My first memory of Star Trek, I was like 4, and my dad dragged the mat I was playing on over in front of the TV so that we could watch as a family. So it's thanks to him that I love Star Trek. But I think I might be more obsessed than him at this point. Yep, you can find me anywhere online at VoidCat Gaming on Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter.
Yeah, I'm known as Aris the Vorta on Twitch, and my previous name was Matthew Blue Fox. It's still Matthew Blue Fox on YouTube because this is my fanfiction character, so I also wrote some German fanfiction. I grew up with Star Trek The Next Generation, and I watched it on German television in ZDF the first time, so it was German dubbed, and I couldn't even speak English back then. So, yeah, I started like the international broadcast. I started watching in the late 90s, beginning of 2000, and yeah, that's basically my introduction to Star Trek. And then I watched Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, and yeah, that's where I stopped watching because the rest is a little difficult for me to. But yeah, up to and including Enterprise, everything is great. And my captain is Jean-Luc Picard. All
right. Okay, so our homework, which anytime Star Trek is involved in my homework, I love it. It's not really homework. But we were watching Borg and Descent parts 1 and 2, which will, as we know, tie into the new Star Trek Picard show. So who wants to go first? What did we think of Borg? I know we've probably seen it a bunch of times, but it had been a while since I'd seen it, so I watched it recently. What did you guys think?
I'm just breathing at the same time. I kind of have an obsession with the concept of AI and the way that it's written in, like by humans, that humans, like robots, are always trying to become human. Mm-hmm. So I particularly liked Borg because like it deals with the inability to work in certain ways as the robot, but Hugh developed his sense of individuality because he was cut off from other voices and not because he was attempting to be more human. And then they like dealt with the other side of it once we hit Descent, where he was like kind of the opposing figure to Lauren Data's kind of like combative issues. And no offense to the writers of Descent, but I think Borg is just like much more interesting in its writing. And then they kind of like pulled him back because Borg did so well because it's such an interesting episode that they were like, oh, we got to bring this guy back. And I'm glad that they're doing it again. I'm very interested to see what they're going to do with the development of the Borg, because obviously with Hugh and with Seven, who went through the same thing, there's going to be trying to pull these creatures who are human-ish, I mean different species, whatever, and then got pulled into the drone life, and then trying to revert back to our form of sentience is very interesting. So I'm excited about that. And Picard pulling out his Locutus voice is always really fun.
Yeah, I loved how in Borg, how you could just kind of feel Picard's hatred for the Borg, and rightfully so. Just seething. He was just like, almost like shoot him in the head, let's get it over with. But then by the end of the episode, he was, almost, giving Hugh a hug when he left. So I thought it was a pretty good little, not transformation, but it was a good shift in his attitudes towards at least Hugh, which I think it was an amazing performance by Patrick Stewart. But yeah, it's one of the things I really loved, watching his hatred go from hatred to almost acceptance in the course of, one episode.
Yeah.
Well, and you could say the same thing for Guinan. I mean, there's such a dynamic difference in, I guess, in character interaction with Hugh. I mean, you look at the Doctor, Dr. Crusher, and you look at Geordi, and they were the first ones to kind of see beyond just the drone. Like they were like, wait a
Crusher
minute.
Immediately sees him as a kid.
Exactly. Like, wait a minute. There's something more here. And Picard and Guinan were not really interested. And their hatred, the episode basically went from their hatred to an understanding of, well, there's more to it than it's not just black and white. There's so much more to it. And the dynamics and just the drama of that was really, really powerful. I mean, you've got Geordi who's befriending him. You've got Dr. Crusher who's trying to protect him. And you've got Picard and Guinan who are just, and rightfully so, with their past. I mean, the Borg obliterated Guinan's culture and planet, and Picard was Locutus. So, I mean, you understand his hatred, but it's really powerful to see that transformation from hatred to understanding and acceptance. And they didn't know what was going to happen. Obviously, no one did until Descent came out. But
right.
They didn't know what was going to happen. So, it was just a very human episode. It kind of showed the good and the bad of humanity, because all of us have the capability of anger. We all have the capability
Even
of
Picard.
Hatred. Yeah, exactly. The capability of prejudice. And then just being able to get beyond that and to come back to the human of instinct of, well, there's more to it than just black and white. It's not good and bad. It's not black and white. There's so many more levels or layers to what's going on. So it's just a super powerful episode. I've always loved that episode.
Yeah, me too. Do you think that Geordi and Beverly's, do you think the reason they handled them differently was because they were approaching it from a scientific and medical stance versus pure emotion?
I'd say Geordi definitely, it started out as a kind of like a science experiment, and then the more he talked to Hugh, the more he started to see him as a kid. But Bev, definitely, and not just in this episode, there's a bunch of episodes like that, but she's always, first and foremost, I am a doctor, I will do no harm, and if I see someone dying, I will help them. It doesn't matter to her that he's Borg.
Yeah.
If he's dying, he doesn't have anybody to help him, she's going to take care of him. So I think definitely, she's the stand of humanity in this, of the best of us, but she's not concerned about the danger, whereas Picard, as the captain, has to balance the two, and he knows exactly how dangerous the Borg are.
Firsthand.
But yeah, she just kicks into mother mode immediately. Love it.
Eris, actually, I'm curious about your take on it.
Well, I was about to mention Guinan, and then Jay did, so...
Sorry about that.
When you're the last, it's always hard. It's always a little difficult to point out
Feel
things
free to jump in
that,
while we're talking, too.
that weren't pointed out yet. But I like the fencing scene between Picard and Guinan, because she was showing a weakness or something. Like she acted like she was injured or something, and then he hesitated, and then she knocked him off. So it was like...
That was good, yeah.
Yeah, and she landed the deciding hit, and then she said, what does showing compassion get you? And then it's So I think that was the moment when, even Guinan was, when the captain actually realized, okay, when even Guinan is interested in getting to know this individual that is Hugh, I think then he thought he's probably going to have to try out as well. And that's how he got into it. So I like that part, because that was a deciding moment when Jean-Luc actually when he got drawn into it.
Yeah.
And then I also like this dialogue between him and Hugh in the ready room when he says, "I am the cutest of Borg," and then Hugh says resistance is not futile, and then on this entire thing, and then that was great.
That is a great moment.
Yeah, that the actor Jonathan Del Arco did a fantastic job because I mean you could tell, at least I thought in the episode you could really see like him acting like a child, almost vulnerable, not sure of himself, especially when he was talking to Locutus. So I thought it was a good job he did with that.
Yeah, you can like watch him think about what's being said to him and like analyze it.
Yeah, I loved his friendship that he almost immediately got with Geordi, and his concern for him both in this episode and Descent. I thought was really touching. So he did a fantastic job, I think.
I was so excited when they announced that he was going to be a part of Picard, just because his character. I mean, obviously, Sabrina and my screen names previously were of Borg, right? So we're Borg fans before our rebrands, and Hugh. I was talking to Sabrina. Hugh wasn't the first Borg, but he was the one that kind of put a face to the Borg. So having Hugh or having Jonathan Del Arco back in the mix as Hugh, that's like talk about fanning. Like I'm so excited. Like I'm such a fan of that character that I am just so excited. It's almost like I can't stand the anticipation because I'm so excited to see what's coming. Well,
the Borg were like the big baddies for Picard. So I mean, if you're gonna make a show about Picard, it has to be about the evolution of that, right?
Yeah. Well, we only have 75 days, 21 hours, and 9 minutes. Not that I am counting down.
I love
Not that I have a countdown on my phone at all that I'm looking at right now.
No, not at all. Of course not.
No. I just pulled that on my head.
75 days. Perfect.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So
that's nothing.
I know. I could do that in my sleep, I guess. I could sleep till then. So what do you guys think if like you were put in that situation, which I know is kind of, far-fetched, for now, but like who did you relate to most in that episode, you think? Like Picard or Guinan? I mean, how would you react to that, and especially like kind of sending this Borg, this kid, back to essentially like destroy his whole race? I don't know, what would you guys think?
I've always really related to Geordi, and I think Sabrina could kind of laugh at this because she knows me pretty well and knows that I am a people person, I am a people pleaser, and I'm also very interested in fixing things or making things better, So thinking of it in a how can I, like, it's almost like how can I big brother this situation? Like how can I be the positive influence or the person that can make this situation better than it could be otherwise, you know what I mean? So I've always really related to Geordi, especially in that episode, just because his patience, his humanity. He's an engineer, which I love because I love building things and working on things. So, I really related to Geordi in that episode.
Cool. Eris, what about you?
You mean one particular character that stood out for me in the episode?
Yeah, or who did you relate to most in the episode?
I would say Guinan, because you could, like, she's not a regular, but in that episode it was like there was already this appearance she had in season 2 with Hugh, and that's where we got the background information about her. Like she and the Borg went way back. And that was a nice moment for Guinan to, and of course Hugh himself as well, as a guest character. But I think for me, it was more about these two guest characters rather than the main characters that were not in the focus in this episode. It was really about Hugh, and for me, it was also a little bit about Guinan and the background she had with the Borg, and she got over it. So yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Sabrina?
Quite some difficult growth for Guinan.
Sorry?
I said that was quite some like beautiful growth for Guinan, but I don't know. It's the thing. Star Trek for me is like kind of hard to compare to real life because it's just like so. It's much more moral. But one of the reasons I do love iBorg so much is because it deals a lot with like the the difficulty in finding the right thing to do. So I want to say Bev, but honestly, I'd probably be more like Hugh in this character, just like thrust in a new situation, thrust in a new place without the people who usually support me. I would just like not know what to do and then start like depending on the kindness of the people who are in the new situation, and letting that change me. So maybe that makes me malleable. But I definitely connected with Hugh the most in that particular episode, which is why I think I was so distressed when he has like a very short period of time in the two-parter, and he's just immediately like angry at all of them, because I'm like, what happened to that relationship he had with Geordi? Like, I understand why he'd be frustrated that like he's sent back home and then everything collapses, but it felt like it kind of erased some of the progress he had made just to put Worf and Riker in like a more tenuous situation, and that frustrated me a little. But I don't think they're even written by the same people, right?
What was that you said?
The episodes.
Oh no, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'd probably have to go with Jay on it as far as relating to Geordi the most. Because I tend to be very like, factual and take stuff as I see it. So I think I would probably approach it his way. Although I can also kind of understand Picard, his feelings, of course. But I would like to think I would be more like Geordi and Beverly, and not like Picard and Worf, who just wanted to kill him. But of course, you never know in that situation. So yeah, and then we have at the end of that episode, as he beams up to the Borg ship, we kind of see him turn his head to Geordi, kind of like as an indication that he's still Hugh, which I thought was pretty cool. And then from that point we kind of jump into Descent. What did you guys think of part one?
The one thing that kind of bothered me about those episodes is it's the data emotion thing. It always gets me, and I understand like later in the series, he ends up getting his emotion chip for the movies and all that stuff, and that's cool, but it's just so tough, because in episodes like that where Data is this unemotional, just very deliberate character, and then you throw in this, hey, I'm just gonna have Lore feed him anger, and then he's just gonna immediately flip a switch and just basically be ready to kill every single person ever. You know what I mean? Like it's so extreme, and it's always hard for me to stomach stuff like that. Especially when you have such a respect for a character. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, that's I understand it's the writing, and that it's part of the story, and they kind of had to do that, but it's still it's still kind of hard to stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah. The emotion chip thing has always been kind of inconsistent, because sometimes it seems like he already has emotions with the way he reacts to stuff.
Yep.
But I mean, I can overlook that because it's Trek and I love it to death. But I will say though that Brent Spiner, I mean, I loved his performance, always as Data, but of course as Lore as well, because I think he plays it. He puts kind of just enough cheese on it, to make it awesome, in my opinion. Because he's kind of like this cheesy villain twirling his mustache almost.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's kind of scary. So I thought that was really great. That was one of my favorite parts of the two-parter.
Lore being like very sure of himself, but simultaneously just very chaotically imbalanced is like great. He does a fantastic job. Spiner. Yeah, in regards to Data's behavior, there was definitely like some level of drug addiction kind of metaphor in there, and especially TNG tried to do some stuff with big subjects, and sometimes they had missteps, and I feel like that's one of the places where they went too hard for kind of a like the dare sort of, if you touch drugs once you'll go crazy sort of thing, and it just feels like it lacks subtlety. So I agree with you there. Definitely. But yeah, they had to kind of make Data the enemy or it wouldn't have worked. But I get so sad every time I watch the scene where he injects stuff into Geordie's head. I'm just like, please don't. No, don't though.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. And I know that the Borg. I was thinking about this when I was watching the episodes again about the Borg Queen, and I know she didn't come until First Contact, but I wonder, do you guys know if there were any books or comics that kind of covered that topic, like where she was during this time? Did they go back and address that, or did they just kind of say she didn't come up until First Contact?
Books and comics are like secondary canon. I don't really
True, yeah.
put too much stock in them because they disagree with themselves a lot. But honestly, the entire Borg Queen thing was kind of a weird, because the Borg were scary because they were collective, and then they were like, they don't really think for themselves, they're purely drones with the Queen, and then they went from being the scary, like, all possessive, they will turn you into one of them thing, to just like an army of ants kind of.
Yeah.
She was a fun villain, like her acting's great.
Oh yeah.
It is interesting that Data gets given emotions twice by Borg to try to control him, or
Right.
like Lore wasn't Borg, but he was controlling the Borg and Data simultaneously.
Yeah. Not only emotions, but like human skin
His
as well.
hair, yeah.
That was always freaky.
When she blows on it and then like sticks up, yep.
Yeah, I could have done without that scene.
Well, they always, they kind of mention it in these episodes about how, the Borg aspire to be what Data and Lore are, like the embodiment of perfection. Or there's something to that
cybernetic.
extent. Yeah, to
Yeah,
some
100%.
extent. Yeah. So I mean, you could see why the Borg Queen, even if she doesn't tie into it, like specifically, in the canon as far as, books or anything like that, they've multiple times have stated how Data and any Anunian Soongs, sorry.
Yeah, Noonien Singh is another one.
Yeah, I know. I always get those mixed up, and I'm like, ugh, I don't know why I do that. But yes, but his androids are to Borg perfection. So it would make sense that the Queen, sees him as that, and that comes up in these episodes even.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was interesting at the end of Descent Part 2, they kind of implied that Hugh could maybe be the leader of this new type of Borg. So it'll be interesting to see if they address that in the new series, like what happens, and like if they even mention the Borg Queen or how that'll all fit together.
I hope it's directly referenced by making him literally just the leader of the independent Borg, and he's doing it with like Jerry Ryan,
Oh, that would be cool.
But that's the thing, because it was never picked up again after this two-parter. Like,
Right.
Hugh was never mentioned again. And, so I'm really looking forward to seeing a solve of this in the Star Trek Picard show. What I just thought, I think we're still talking mainly about Descent Part 1, is that I just never really got how and, like, the logic and how it was possible for Lord, like, to transfer these emotions to Data. Of course, through Crosis, we saw that when Crosis was in the break there, but it just felt a little cheap. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought, like, okay, that could have done maybe a little more creatively. I don't know, but
Yeah, I agree.
It just happened, and then it was like, okay, but that's why I think Descent Part 2 was way better than Part 1.
Certainly had more action.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Also,
they tend to...
also because Beverly finally gets to command the Enterprise.
Yeah.
There you go.
I actually they're not a huge part of it, but I really like what's going on the bridge with like the ensign and the lieutenant that are normally not there. Just like it's nice. Some of my favorite Trek episodes have like a bunch of guest star spots, and that's one of the ones that have a bunch of guest star spots, and it really gives them a chance to shine on characters that we haven't seen already, and it's awesome.
Yeah, well, the whole sunspot thing where they take out the Type 3 ship, just with the sun just vaporizing the ship. I mean, and the banter and almost the discontent between the security lieutenant and then the ensign, and how she's like, well, this is what I did my thesis on. And he was like, well, a thesis isn't really real life kind of stuff. And then she got to prove herself and earn his respect, which just is super, super cool,
I'm
Yeah.
on both sides here.
Yeah.
I really love that scene and how he smiles at the end, but definitely, just in general, they should have just had somebody double check her math real fast.
Yeah.
It was really sweet when he said, like,
No offense, but yeah.
she did it. She did it.
Fair enough.
yeah.
Borg ship destroyed, sir. Something like that. First he was smiling, she did it, and then he was like, Borg ships destroyed, sir.
Yeah.
Let's have the computer just double check the math real quick.
Lieutenant Barnaby and Ensign Tate was their names.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
Thank you.
cool.
Thank
Yeah.
you. No offense to her, she's a genius. Like, the fact that she even came up with the idea is like,
Yeah.
wow.
And she's
Yeah.
a cutie
Thinking
pie,
on your
too.
feet. Yeah, and she is a cutie pie. But, I mean, double check your math. It's just a thing you should be doing anyway.
Well, and
It's like you go to...
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, it's like you go to the doctor and they say you got 3 months to live. I'm going to double check that. That's just
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, agreed. Well, and
Just for safety.
Even just talking about double checking math and stuff like that, the whole metaphasic shielding, that was obviously brought up and a part of the season previously, but it's still one of those things where, hey, this has not been tested. Let's fly into the sun.
To test it.
Well, let's just...
With the Enterprise.
They always do that. They just want to add tension, like, oh, we don't know if it'll work. Oh, but it works. Yeah, I know you wrote it.
At least
And
they
it's
didn't
also
use
good
the...
because of Beverly, because it was the moment when Beverly, that was the episode where Beverly almost left Starfleet because of this metaphasic thing there, and
Yeah.
she was under investigation because she made an abduction of Dr. Rega, like this Ferengi guy, and that was cool that this was also brought back because she was in command of the Enterprise and she remembered, we still have this metaphysics program there that has not been tested yet, but we could try it out. You know, that was
Especially
nice.
since it's like not at all her specialty.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's
It's
I
her
know.
hobby.
Yeah. Well, and what's cool
Metaphasic shielding.
yeah.
And dancing.
Specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Tap dancing, yep.
And what's cool about it though too is she so there are obviously people are going to say, oh man, Dr. Crusher's in charge of the Enterprise, like even us viewers watching it, it's like, okay, we're kind of second guessing her because she's not really who we're used to being in the commander's
But
seat.
also, typically you would not put your chief medical officer in a commanding role just because you need the doctor to be the doctor.
Yes.
But forget that. That's a different...
So for
Except for this ECH on
Yes.
Voyager.
Yeah, the emergency command hologram.
Oh my
yeah.
god. Yeah, but that's because there was nobody else left.
Right. I love that, by the way. That was great.
But that was another episode. So
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later.
Exactly. That'll be for our other
Let's talk about
podcast
Voyager
about
now.
Voyager. No,
Yeah,
Right.
we gotta do another one talking about Jerry Ryan. I mean...
yeah, of course. Hello. Oh yeah. No, but it's interesting that, of all people, she's put in command. We're not used to it. She pulls this thing out of a hat, basically. It's like, oh, let's use metaphasic shielding. It's just this whole like uncomfort of, okay, you're the commander now, and you're using these shields that have never been tested.
And the people on the bridge have never been on the bridge before.
Yeah. So
was
it's
that-
just this pure uncomfort level,
Was there so many of the crew that was on the planet that they couldn't
Yeah, they
find
were all
somebody
on the-
else?
Yep.
Huh. Okay.
And actually, that's the other thing in iBorg. There's a lot of, I was talking about earlier about how Bev does the doctor thing, and she's like, the first thing I care about is helping this patient. She sends them back into a dangerous situation to make sure that they get everybody off that planet. Does not care. Yes, the Borg are very dangerous, but we're going back to get our crew. That's it.
Yeah.
47
Yeah.
people, I think.
I thought she did a good job.
it had to be 47.
I don't know. I don't know if we've established rules as far as language, so we'll have to figure that out. But just to throw it out there, Beverly was a badass.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
I don't think that's... Is that still a bad word, badass? I don't know.
I did, when I listed us in the podcast directors, I did say explicit language, so we can go crazy, whatever we want to do.
Oh, okay.
What I was going to bring up too, though, is the captain not going on away missions thing. That kind of goes
Oh,
out
yes.
the window. That kind of goes out the window this episode, like right off the bat. No one even like checks him on it. No one even calls him out. Like a lot of times, Riker would call him out and be like, "Sir, that's," or Data, or like, "Sir,"
We can't both be off ship.
Worf. Yeah. But man, these episodes just straight up, Picard was like, "Let's go," and he's like.
Well, from almost every episode, they have the chief medical officer, the chief security, captain, all going down almost on an away mission. So it's, yeah, they never abide by that rule book.
It's like
It was very similar to
lawlessness of
Gambit.
TOS.
Similar to who? I'm sorry.
Sorry, we spoke together. I was just saying it was very similar to Gambit, where also like Picard and Riker both were away, and then Data took command. So it was
Yeah.
a pretty similar situation.
Yep, you're right.
Yep, I'm seeing a theme. From Picard. 20 years later?
Oh, well, okay,
30,
so
I
since you
think.
brought it up, what are your theories about Picards, my friend? What is Picard about?
About the best captain that ever.
I mean,
No.
I can go first if you want me.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a theory. All right. So, they showed us at his wine house with the lovely puppy, little
Yes.
dog. For those of you at home, they already know, but my rule is if I know I'm gonna watch something, then I don't watch a trailer for it because it's just an ad for the thing I already know I'm gonna watch, and I'm just like making it straight off up the top of my head plus the poster that I saw. But it seems like most likely Picard is retired, so my hope is, even if it's childish, whatever, my hope is that he retired and then they put him in a position of like, I can't believe I forgot this word, ambassador. He's because of his position as Locutus, he's now the ambassador with the Borg collection that's growing with Hugh of
that'd be cool.
individual Borg, and then they have to, they're working together to be part of the Federation, maybe? We'll see. And against, like, the collective itself, and 7 of 9 will be on their side, obviously. So that's what I'm hoping for. We'll see what happens.
I like that. Even if it wasn't what that was, you should, propose that idea to them and see what they think for like season 2.
Ambassadorship. Because, I mean, that's Picard. He's level-headed. He listens to all the sides, even if he disagrees with them. Before he makes any decisions, he's very, like, careful about what he thinks the possible downfalls of things are and like the benefits, so he'll definitely think heavily about what's going on, and he's surrounded by intelligent people who will help him. I just hope it's going to be more content and less fan service.
Well, so one thing to throw out there, because I know you haven't watched trailers and you haven't really followed it, so I hope like that. I think me and Beetle and Eris are all kind of worried, like, okay, we hope we don't like ruin anything for Void Cat, but but basically
you can't.
They've mentioned that this isn't the same captain, so they've kind of said, hey,
right.
there are going to be some differences. He's going to be a little bit, he might be a little bit colder or a little bit more jaded, or something happened to kind of change him from where he was at the end of Nemesis to where he is now.
It's been 30 years.
Yeah, and part of what I'm hoping is that whatever journey this is, it brings him back to our captain. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, he strayed away. He's become kind of jaded. Exactly. To help him bring his Starfleet core back and his humanity back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that would be awesome, because kind of my issue with the Discovery of the first season very much was that it kind of did away with the Star Trek was all about, for me, like, morality and making the right decision in the face of difficulty. And I feel like they just went real dark, and I'm concerned. And I understand it's because of the way that television is changing right now, and I'm really concerned that they made those decisions about Picard because of what's popular right now in television, and not because of the story that needs to be told. So I'm with you. I really hope that's what's going to happen. I'm just very anxious also.
Yes, I'm cautiously optimistic. But I hope we get to, if nothing else, I hope we can get to see some of Picard's, famous, not famous speeches, but I hope we can see him do some more speeches that Q loves. I love those.
Yeah, for one, hope that it's really going to be better than Discovery and JJ Trek. So I think I have much higher hopes already in this Picard series. Just for
That's
the trailer
interesting.
that I saw, this is already this is big time. And what I thought maybe the cooperative or this Unimatrix Zero movement could also play a role in this new Borg future. You know.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, and that's that would be nice. Like having Unimatrix Zero got destroyed, but I think the minds still are living on. I'm not sure, but I don't know what happened there at the end. I have to rewatch that episode, but I think that this hidden spirit is still there, and the cooperative obviously still exists. It exists in Star Trek Online, so it could also exist in Star Trek Picard. You never know.
That's a good idea. I think one thing we've settled for sure is that we should all be writing for the new show, right? We have some great
Yes,
ideas.
they should hire me immediately.
Yeah.
They should hire Sabrina for sure. Yeah.
They should hire me to be in it and write it. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And play the Borg Queen.
Yeah.
Okay, the young new Borg Queen.
Yeah, I'm thinking showrunner, honestly. Borg Queen, okay, but I'm thinking showrunner. I mean, let's be honest.
Okay, you guys stop flattering.
Showrunner.
Let's stop. All right.
Put her at the helm. Yeah.
I can't handle it.
There you go.
Hey, you guys, I'm here
Perfect.
anyway. Hire me.
Yeah. It's like you and however many other people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, once you're a Twitch partner, things might change, you know?
Yeah, let me get there. We'll talk about it. We all are.
You know, I actually have a
Alright.
question too, though. Is John Delancey? You guys think Hugh is going to make an appearance?
Ooh.
That's interesting. I've heard rumors, but who knows? It would be interesting. As long as they did it the right way, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he, at Encounter at Farpoint, he kind of started.
It's our
Everything.
fault we ran it. His
He
fault
was
we ran
always
into
there.
Borg.
I mean, he was there the first episode, he was
Yeah.
there the last episode, so
Yeah.
it would be fun to see him in the Picard show. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and he did introduce us to the Borg, so
Yep.
over dinner.
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
over dinner.
Over dinner.
I don't think Q's going to be in it, and let me tell you why. Q is amazing for episodic shows because you can pop in an episode and just have like a really ridiculous, Peter Pan or Robin Hood kind of episode.
Yeah.
But with the way that we're doing everything now being like a one story instead of episodic, it looks like Picard is most likely going to be like that too. It's very difficult to have an overpowered character like Q be in a continuing story like that.
Yeah.
Maybe a flashback.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. I would like John Delancey to pop up. I just don't think it's likely.
Okay.
Well, we
Au
have seen
contraire, mon capitaine!
that was really good. We did have a couple other TNG actors show up in the trailer. I don't know. I don't want to ruin it for you, Sabrina, but
I've heard.
okay. So I am really excited to see them come back,
The married
even if
couple?
it's even if it's just for like a short little scene like that. I think that'll be really cool to see them together again.
I definitely want Picard's old crew to still be supporting him in life.
Oh, yeah.
There's no reason why he should be their captain for 7 years. He's the reason that Riker is the man that he is, kind of. Because remember, there was all those times when they were like, Riker, you should move on and be in captain, and he's like, no, I think I will learn more staying here. To give up on that relationship would be ridiculous, and for Data to not be friends with Picard anymore would be ridiculous. Although I know it's difficult for Brent Spiner because he stopped playing him ages ago because he was worried he looked too old. But yeah,
Well, with the technology they have now, they can make him look young, which so that's
that
no
is
problem.
true.
That's probably why he agreed to return.
I know.
Right.
I know. Yeah, spoiler alert, Sabrina.
I know. I'm in a shitposting group. It's not possible to spoil me.
There you go.
Yeah, all right. But no, I think
It's okay. The spoilers don't bother me. It's the way that the story is told, not the things that are in the story.
Yeah.
If that makes sense to you.
Oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
The journey.
Yes. You know, one thing actually that I think is really fun, where we're at now versus when TNG was first airing, and even up to the last episode, because I don't think Jonathan Frakes was directing until he did First Contact.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think. I mean, I might be mistaken. I know he did a couple. He directed for the show Roswell and stuff, but I think that was after First Contact. But having Riker, the person that plays Riker, be a director on the series, just I feel like that's such a powerful thing. I mean, you have someone who plays.
There's somebody there that understands Berman, Star Trek.
And that loves the lore and the characters because he was one. I mean, so having Jonathan Frakes in the director chair, and I know it's not every episode, but I mean, just having him there as a resource, I mean, that's huge, because he gets it. He was one of them, and he is now one of them as well as the man behind the camera,
And he directed the most successful cinema movie of Star Trek.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, Jonathan Frakes so Patrick Stewart is my favorite actor of all time, like hands down, as far as like theater and movies and drama and comedy. He can do anything.
Have you seen a play with him in it?
Huh? Him and Ian McKellen were doing their play in Berkeley for a long time.
The Shakespeare one?
Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, but just theatrically, stage or screen, he's amazing. And Jonathan Frakes was always it's funny, but when you're like a young boy or a teenager and you see Riker, who's basically the heartthrob, you're like, okay, like that's who I want to be if I'm on TNG. Mm-hmm. So you have this view of Riker as this like ladies' man that is just this suave guy that you want to grow into, and now you know what I mean. So like Patrick Stewart's my favorite actor, but Riker is who I wanted to be on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I stopped trying to be like Riker when I tried to sit down in chairs like him and broke my leg, so that was it for me. It was like, no, I'm kidding.
Well played.
The Riker maneuver.
Well played.
Yes, the Riker maneuver.
Well played.
Okay, so I think we're all pretty excited about Picard. We have 75 days, 20 hours, 39 minutes.
Oh my god.
To go.
Okay, hold on. I will talk about Jerry Ryan for a second.
I love it.
In related to what you were saying about Jonathan Frakes, in an interview about, actually I forget what it was about, probably about a relationship with someone in the show. But Jerry Ryan in an interview said that part of the things with TV shows is that the actor becomes the guardian of their character, because like writers' rooms are a little different now, but it used to be like you'd have different writers and then different directors, and they're all trying to do different things with your characters, and you have to be like, here's what's important about my character. And having Jonathan Frakes be a director, not only somebody who worked on Star Trek, but the fact that he understands exactly that like the way that he had to be the representative of Riker and stuff, I think that'll help a ton. Just to add to what Jay was saying. Why it's even cooler that he's there. Go Frakes. Plus, it's good for Frakes because I just remember him talking about like how he got locked in a TV movie kind of directing jail, as he likes to say. And it's nice that they're giving him more stuff to do.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, I love the librarians. They were really funny.
I can't wait for the outtakes because Frakes is the king of outtakes.
Oh yeah. He's so good. He's like Jonathan Frakes. He's so good. I just
Well, it's funny. I read an article where he was actually having a lot of anxiety about directing for Picard. So even with everything, with everything under his belt, he still gets a little anxious, which is good because that means he still cares about the material. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it's exciting.
And I'm always happy to know that people that I care about are getting more work,
Oh, yeah.
It's exciting
I think,
stuff. Yeah, it's just exciting. I'm sorry, I'm just taking it all in. Like, it's just so exciting. I literally cannot wait for this show.
I imagine that you're just, like, bouncing up and down.
Yeah, you know me pretty well.
I can't do it because otherwise you'll just... Anything else you want to talk about today?
No, I think we're good. Thank you, guys. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's going to continue being a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yes,
until
hopefully.
Picard comes out, and then it's either going to continue being a lot of fun, or we're just going to have a lot of meltdowns.
Yeah, we'll be like, screw it, the show sucks. Let's fold up.
Fangasms.
Yeah, well, I mean, meltdowns, that's good content right there, so...
There you go. Get it on air.
That's what I'm saying.